Welcome into Sportsmemo's NFL Opening Line Report podcast with our NFL expert, Teddy Covers. Teddy, welcome to the pod. How are you?
Hey, great to be here, Drew.
Great to have you. December 17th, Monday, going over the opening lines for this upcoming week. And off a 3-0 Sunday, Teddy, feel good to be in the win column?
Yeah, I mean, I had a terrible week in basketball. I lost my big bowl play. But the NFL, man, it's just been sizzling all year long. 67% for the full season. On NFL side, 63% overall. Since Thanksgiving, we've been on a roll. 3-0 Sunday, we won on Thursday night with Tennessee. So, the NFL's been real good, even unfortunately during a time where I've been struggling with the hoops and that. So, and all the games yesterday, right sides. There was no sweating in the fourth. I guess there was a little bit of sweat with the Redskins in the fourth quarter, but by and large, you like them when they're nice and easy. And obviously, the clients cashing in yesterday with that 3-0 sweep.
Yeah, Teddy, 67% year-to-date NFL sides. We got NFL year-to-date 63%. That correct, Teddy?
Mm-hmm.
And what my favorite, NFL since 2015, 171, 123. That's 58%, 3 years running now. Guys, we have a coupon code FB199 at checkout. It's a good one. We got Teddy's College Football and NFL Rest of Season that gets you through the national championship game in college, through the Super Bowl, including the Super Bowl props package, everything, college and NFL for just $199. That's $300 off the posted price at sportsmemo.com. That coupon code is FB199 at checkout for the rest of his college football and NFL season. Teddy, we got the Monday Nighter in the NFC South tonight. New Orleans, Carolina. Looks like, the Saints laying 6 on the road, 50.5 the total. Any quick thoughts on the Monday night game tonight?
Yeah, I'm involved with the total. You can get that right now at sportsmemo.com. Of course, it comes with an 18-2 angle and a good under-the-radar one that, I went back and did the digging on that. So you can get that right now at Sportsmemo. What is it, $9 Monday? So it's real cheap. If you want to get on board with the total tonight. From a side perspective, look, Saints are the class. And we've seen a stellar defensive effort from New Orleans over the last month and an offense that finally got back on track after 6 quarters of futility in the second half last week. So I'm not in any rush to step in front of the Saints right now and backing a Panthers team that obviously has been trending in the wrong direction for quite some time. But it's not I didn't play the Saints. I'm not about to lay it. It's the slightest of leans towards New Orleans. The strong play here, in my opinion, is on the total.
All right, Teddy. And Teddy touched on it. $9 Monday. All plays at sportsmemo.com today and every Monday are just $9. It doesn't have to just go on Monday either. The game could be later in the week, and you can get it on Monday for just $9 at sportsmemo.com. Teddy, we got the Saturday games, 2 of them. The early one, Washington at Tennessee, 36.5 the total. Looks like the Titans laying doubles at home, seeing mostly 10s across the board.
Yeah, I mean, I cashed a ticket with the Redskins yesterday. The thought process was that the Jags had no business laying 7.5, and that turned out to be correct. It wasn't easy, it wasn't pretty, but Josh Johnson in the fourth quarter, a couple of tip passes made all the difference. One on the offensive side of the football, one on the defensive side of the football, and next thing you know, the 7-7 Redskins are still very much alive in the NFC playoff race with the outright upset win. So you say, well, this team was catching 7.5 against a miserable squad like the Jags, not only catching 10 here against a good team like the Titans. And, for the success that Josh Johnson had yesterday, I don't know that I'm going to ask him to do it twice in a row. Worth noting on the Tennessee side of the equation, a couple of key injuries in the secondary. Big injuries. Logan Ryan, the cornerback, out for the season. Kenny Vaccaro, he's in the safety. He's in concussion protocol. They got issues at linebacker as well. Finch and Arapko both got banged up. So a Titans defense coming off, a couple of pretty strong showings the last few weeks. What does Tennessee want to do? They want to run the ball, control the line of scrimmage, and win games with their defense. And that strategy has worked well in recent weeks, but that defense will not be at 100% or not likely to be at 100% on a Sunday night. Look ahead line here. Well, and of course, every week when we do the opening line report, I give 2 sets of lines. All right, we give the look ahead line, which is a bettable number from last week at the Westgate Superbook here in Vegas, so before Sunday's games were played. And, of course, I'll give you my power rating number. It's worth noting for Week 17 next week, there will be no look-aheads from the Westgate because of all the playoff scenarios. So this will be the last week that I have look-ahead lines to talk about. So we'll talk about them. 10.5 with the look-ahead here, and 9 is my power rating number on Tennessee. So obviously I'm a little bit ahead of the markets. I've got Washington ranked a little bit above the rest of the markets, and maybe I factored in those Tennessee injuries a little bit more than the markets have with the current number sitting right at 10.
Teddy, we got the late game on Saturday. Baltimore, LA Chargers, 45 the total, 4.5 is what the Chargers are laying at home.
Yeah, look ahead line here was Chargers 5. My power rating number is Chargers minus 5.5. And the markets are shorter than that. The markets are, Baltimore has the impressive defensive numbers that the markets are going to give credit for. No question. And you look at the Chargers coming off, and I mean, it was a miracle win and cover, and KC, rallying from 2 touchdowns down in the last 5 minutes against a divisional opponent that had beaten them, 9 consecutive times. Clearly, it's not a spot that the markets are excited about laying with the LA Chargers. Worth noting that during this hot streak for the Baltimore Ravens, where they've come alive with Lamar Jackson at QB, they've yet to face a defense that ranks in the top half of the NFL during this current winning streak. The Chargers defense, one of the elite ones, and it'll be the first time that Lamar Jackson really gets tested. I think this number is a little bit short. If it's going anywhere, I would expect it to go up.
Teddy, I just want to bounce a quick question off you. The Westgate not putting out Week 17 look-aheads. That sounds like something in recent years, or maybe not recent years, they got burned on. Do you remember something off the top of your head? Or
I don't think they've. I'm pretty sure they haven't done it. Week 17 is, for a bettor, it's difficult. For an odds makers, it's really difficult. You see line moves like crazy when coaches announce who's playing and who isn't playing, and the concept of look-aheads is that the books want to give people an idea, give people a chance to bet more, obviously, and B, to get a sense of this is where the market numbers are, and not worrying about the specific matchups for this week, but to give them a starting point for next week, and be a good assessment of where teams are power rated against one another. And for Week 17, your power rating numbers aren't going to do you any good. So it's a matter. I don't know if they've ever had Week 17 numbers. I don't think that they have. If they did, they'd get burned. Of course, they'd get burned. These numbers are going to get hit pretty hard.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I just didn't know if there was some story 3 years ago they got killed or something. But
no. Someday I'm going to tell a story about what happened in the Chiefs-Chargers game. It had to be 2012 in Week 17, a game with a 14-point line move. But I'm not ready to tell that story yet. It'll come.
Okay, is that for today's pod or
no? That's maybe we'll save it for Week 17.
Right. Stay tuned.
There is a true story about a Chiefs Chargers. I got to find that game. I think it was the last time prior to this week that the Chargers had beaten the Chiefs. Now I got to find it. All right. Meanwhile, let's keep rolling.
All right. I'm putting it down in my notes. The pod notes.
2013. 2013, by the way, was the year.
All right.
Yes.
Well, let's get on to the Sunday games. We got 101-102, Tampa Bay, Dallas, 46 the total. Looks like the Cowboys laying 7 at home.
Look headline here, Dallas minus 7.5. My power rating number, Dallas minus 8.5. I feel like the sky's falling for the Cowboys. It was a terrible spot for Dallas. We knew it was a terrible spot for Dallas. We bet the Colts. We told the clients to bet the Colts. The markets were all over the Colts. And then what happens on Sunday night? Everyone overreacts. Oh, my God, the Cowboys stink now. I mean, oh, boy, the NFL is a what have you done for me lately type of league. I think this number is a little bit short, and yet I'm not seeing a lot of indications that it's on the way up. If it is going anywhere, it's going to 7.5, not to 6.5. So it's not an emergency betting alert situation, but if you like the Cowboys, it's not going to hurt you to lock in at the current number against a Tampa team that, let's face it, the Bucs came out. Defensively, they played fairly well. In defeat yesterday at Baltimore, but it's not. It's a different animal. We're talking about Dallas coming off a shutout loss. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Cowboys come out here with a little chip on their shoulder.
Teddy, we've got 103-104 AFC East matchup. Buffalo traveling to New England, 45 the total. The Pats laying 12.5 at home.
Why am I terrified of it? Look, I need one loss for the Bills in the last 3 weeks of the season to go to deliver 5-0 with the season win reports. And obviously the season win report is something that's been really good long term. It's been really good in recent years. We want the sweep. I don't want to give anything. Every client and cash every bet that you made, that'd be really nice. And I need one more loss of the Bills. They didn't give it to me yesterday because the Lions were missing extra points, and I'm terrified. I don't know why I'm terrified of this game, but I am. I just feel like what we've seen from the Patriots the last couple of weeks, the game in Miami where they had him and let him on, had him on the ropes, and obviously the crazy final play. The game in Pittsburgh yesterday where Brady looked old, where Gronk couldn't get open, where New England didn't really look like a Super Bowl contender in that ball game. And on either side of the football. I don't know if they'd be in the game if Pittsburgh didn't make a ton of mistakes in that contest. But, it's a Patriots team that looks a little bit long in the tooth right now. And we haven't seen this a whole lot in terms of multi-game Patriots losing streaks during the Belichick-Brady era. Certainly not in December. I can tell you this, the markets are going to like New England this week, one would think. Look-ahead line here was 13. My powering number is only 11.5. I've been a little bit off market on the Bills in the last couple of weeks, and it hasn't served me well. Buffalo getting the win, but not the cover yesterday, and losing straight up the previous week against the Jets. But, we've seen some of these long divisional losing streaks come to an end. I don't think the Bills are going to lay down in this ball game by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not sure how good the Patriots really are right now, but from a line perspective, this number's not going down. 12.5, 13 right now. It can only go up. I don't know that it gets to 14, but if you like New England, not going to hurt you to bet them sooner rather than later. I would anticipate there will be market support for the Patriots coming off those back-to-back losses and returning home against a divisional opponent that they should be able to beat.
Teddy, NFC South matchup next Sunday. We got Atlanta at Carolina, seeing some fours, but limited marketplace with Carolina playing tonight.
Yeah, I'm seeing 3.5 fours. Look-ahead line here was 6 on the Panthers. I upped Atlanta yesterday fairly significantly, even though it was only a win over Arizona. The fact is they got Deion Jones back on defense. They made some defensive plays, which they hadn't done in a month. There was a pass rush there. And, we know what Matt Ryan and the offense can do. So my powering number was only 4 on this game. And the markets are right there with me right now, 3.5s and 4s across the board for Atlanta, Carolina. Obviously, this number likely to be affected by what happens tonight. If the Panthers win straight up tonight against the Saints, this number is going to be higher because then all of a sudden Carolina is very live in that playoff picture. If they lose straight up to the Saints, even if they cover, I don't think that this line is going to be any higher than the 3.5 or 4 that we're seeing right now.
Guys, Teddy's got his Monday Night Football top total up for just $9 Monday. $9 Monday at Sportsmemo, and that also includes his NBA play tonight, 76ers versus Spurs moneymaker. Check that out at sportsmemo.com. We got Teddy, all Florida matchup here, Jacksonville at Miami, 40 the total. Looks like the Dolphins laying 5 in Hard Rock Stadium.
Yeah, the look-ahead line here was Miami -4. My powering numbers, Miami -5. The Dolphins, this is one I should have had. I know I swept the board in the NFL, but I threw out my Minnesota, and I'm kicking myself for doing that because they were right side against it. The Dolphins weren't showing in the cold of Minnesota coming off that win over New England, and they got back into the game on whether they have a defensive score. They were down by 3 touchdowns and made things in. Actually cut the lead to 21-17, and that was the end of it. Minnesota bounce back with a vengeance in that contest. Miami's not a good team. They are, however, still alive in the playoff picture. They do have playmakers. As for the Jags, we saw it again yesterday. Cody Kessler behind center. Kessler has now been the quarterback for 3 weeks. Where they have 1 offensive touchdown during that span.
Something like that.
Yeah, Jacksonville is as dead as a dead team gets. And Miami laying this price is a reflection of that. But like I said, look ahead was only 4. My powering number is only 5. So it's not like the markets are way off on where the Jags are supposed to be right now. Like I thought the markets were significantly off on the Jags in that game against the Redskins this past Sunday.
Teddy, just real quick, because the Dolphins, it's a team that I know pretty well. What do you think about their home road splits? 6-1 at home, 1-6 on the road? How much are you putting into that?
Nothing.
Really? Just happen chance?
Yeah, no, nothing. Miami's been on the lucky side at home repeatedly this year.
Yeah.
If we go through the game log, we can. I mean, week one against Tennessee, they were lucky. And if the rains don't come and cancel that game, Miami probably loses it. They ended up winning by a touchdown in that game. How many other games were like that?
Well, the Patriots game,
Sure, that's. There was another one that they absolutely stole. The game against the Bills, they stole. One of the games against the Jets, they stole. I mean, I don't look at Miami again among the playoff contenders. I think I got the Dolphins dead last in the group, and they gotten smacked. Their schedule on the highway. At New England, at Cincy when they were playing good, at Houston, at Green Bay, at Indy, at Minnesota. They played a bunch of good teams on the road. I don't think that it's necessarily that they aren't capable of winning a road game and their home field is super strong. I think there's some element of randomness in that.
Okay. Thanks for explaining that. Makes sense. We got 111-112 New York Giants at the Indianapolis Colts. 47 the total, seeing 46.5 as well. 9 Indianapolis laying at home, Teddy.
Yeah, I've been riding the Colts pretty good for the last month. I guess that's over. Look ahead line here was 6. My powering number's 8.5, and I've been off market on Indy. To the high side, and now the market's here, 9.5, 10. We cashed against the Giants yesterday. I thought that line was silly. The Giants were, they were laying at Tennessee. I mean, at the close, they were the dog, but I didn't see that as being a realistic assessment of where the Giants were at. But certainly, this point spread is a more realistic assessment. That being said, I'll tell you what, I'm not stepping in front of Indy. You're looking for long shot futures, Colts to win the AFC, Colts to win a Super Bowl. That's a future that is probably worth having in your pocket right about now. That team is on a roll. They're playing defense. The running game yesterday, when it wasn't Andrew Luck yesterday, it was Marlon Mack grinding it on the ground. And we certainly know that Frank Reich has, in my mind, very deserving of Coach of the Year consideration in Indy. Just as he was as good a coordinator as you could find in all of football last year with Philadelphia, taking that team to the Super Bowl and a championship. So a coach that has absolutely done everything right. And Eli is who he is. The Giants are what they are. But your days of getting bargains on the Colts have come and gone. Like I said, look ahead was 6. The current market's nowhere near 6. 9, 9.5, even a 10 out there at 1, a prominent offshore.
Teddy, we got Houston at Philadelphia, 45 the total. And at the Sportsmemo odds screen, it's pick 'em across the board.
Yeah, pretty well is. And, of course, the look-ahead line here, Houston-Philly, pick 'em. My powering number on the game, I got Philly -1, which isn't, anything to, there's not a huge differential between a pick 'em and a -1. Injuries for the Texans, worth noting. Lamar Miller got hurt last week. And, of course, Kiki Kute, who has been instrumental for them in the slot this year when healthy. He's banged up as well. And, of course, it's an Eagles team that heck of a win last night, really was. Both sides of the football. And Nick Foles, Foles was not sharp when he played in September. Maybe it's sitting on the bench all year, gets him good for December. He was real good last night. And, of course, it's an Eagles team that certainly has the capacity and the mental agility to say, hey, we went on a nice run last year at this time. We're capable of doing that this year. That was an impressive win for the Eagles last night. I would expect to see some Philadelphia money over the course of the week. I really do. I don't think this game goes pick 'em. I think the Eagles close as the favorite, but this is not an emergency betting alert game. There's 2 of those that we'll talk about coming up soon.
All right. And yeah, that was an impressive win, going cross country, coming out with the outright victory. We got Minnesota at Detroit up next, 5.5 or 5. That's Minnesota laying on the road, 43 the total, Teddy.
So this is a frustrating number for me, all right? My look-ahead line was 3. My powering number is 3. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, 3 is too short. It's just too short. The Vikings have to be favored more than 3 in Detroit right now over the Lions. And I'm like, what? Okay, how do we adjust the power ratings? How do we make... And there's no adjustment. I'm like, no, the number's 3. It looks short, but I've already got Detroit as a bottom 5 team. I've already got Minnesota priced a little bit ahead of the market, I thought, and my number's 3. So the market's it was a difficult number for me to come up with. And where's it going to go? There's only going to be Minnesota money here. The Vikings off their best offense. They fire the offensive coordinator. They bring in the new guy. Boom, hang a season high 41. Run the football all over the place. Cousins doesn't make mistakes. The defense steps up. The Vikings still alive, very much alive in the NFC playoff picture, and Detroit just lost on missed field goals and missed extra points against Buffalo. So you could anticipate the market support for the Vikings. There has to be market support for the Vikings in this spot. They probably deserve the support for the Vikings in this spot. My powering numbers just don't show it. So like I said, look ahead 3. My number 3, and market's at 5.5, and it's only going up.
Teddy, we got Green Bay, New York Jets up next. 44 the total. Looks like the Jets pick them to 1.5 across the board.
Yeah, the markets have no idea what to do with the Packers right now. Flat out. Period. They don't know if Aaron Rodgers says he's going to play. Then they don't but we don't know if he's going to play. Is Aaron Jones going to be able to play this week? He was knocked out. Is Green Bay going to show with anything this week? The markets are really uncertain about the Packers. And again, the look-ahead line here was Green Bay minus 3.5. My powering number, pure powering number, is Green Bay minus 3 if Rodgers plays. Rodgers says he's going to play, and this number's been moving all over the place. I mean, literally all over the place. It was at Penny, for example. Opened Green Bay 3.5 with extra juice. Boom, bet down to minus 1.5. Boom, bet down to pick 'em. Boom, up to plus 2. Now we're seeing Green Bay money finally at plus 2, back to plus 1.5. You want to lay a price with the Jets? I like Sam Darnold. I really do. I like Robbie Anderson. I know that the Jets are still fighting. They're fighting every week, but they're not beating anybody. They beat the Bills in a fourth quarter comeback, but I don't know about this game. It's a really difficult game to handicap. It's a difficult game to line, and the markets are showing that. With you don't see 5-point line moves across key numbers across 0 in the NFL very often. Certainly not in Week 16. And this is a game that has seen that. So the markets are jumping on this game. They may well jump back. There's something to be aware of right now with the Jets laying 1.5, 2 after a lot of money has come on the New York side of the equation.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. I mean, do you really want to be laying it with the Jets, catching 3 and laying 1.5? Big difference in the NFL. We got 119-120 Cincinnati at Cleveland, 45.5 the total. Teddy seeing 6.5s. A couple 7s out there, but mostly 6.5s across the marketplace.
Wee-oo.
Yes.
The 7s aren't going to be there. And there's still plenty of 7s out there. Right now, as we speak, I got 7s at Penny. I got 7s at Westgate. I got 7s at Canner. 7s at South Point here in Vegas. 7s at 5 Dimes Offshore. William Hill. Bodog. Plenty of 7s out there. The Sports Interaction. Coaster at 7s. Heritage is at 7. Yes. Yeah, all kinds of 7s out there right now. You can get them. They're not going to be there. Look ahead line here was 7. My powering number is 7.5, but the markets aren't going to accept Cleveland laying a touchdown. They're not. And certainly, again, we talked about it last week. Like, what happens to the Browns as soon as to the Bengals as soon as their season's over? That's when they start to play well. That's when they start to play hard. They did it under Marvin Lewis in 2016. They did it under Marvin Lewis in 2017, and they're doing it under Marvin Lewis again in 2018. Driscoll was awful yesterday, but it didn't matter. They played the Raiders. The defense showed. The running game was there. That could work. That could work against Cleveland. We've got that ugly win against Denver. Impressive. They got the win on the road against a quality playoff contender, but I'm not convinced the markets are excited about asking the Browns to win by margin just yet, especially by margins of more than a touchdown. If you want Cincy, grab them right now.
Teddy, we got 121, 122 LA Rams at Arizona Cardinals. Can the Rams bounce back here, Teddy? I mean, they're off to one of the best starts of the NFL. Had a rough couple weeks. Now having to lay 13.5 on the road, 47.5 the total.
Yeah, look at line here is Rams 11.5. My powering number is Rams 10.5. The markets are at 13.5. I made a significant adjustment to LA. I mean, you can't look at what's happened the last 2 weeks and say this team is fine. They're not fine. Goff has been awful. All right, flat out awful. And when you have a young quarterback who's going through growing pains and having a slump, we're going to flip the switch on. That might work for Tom Brady or Ben Roethlisberger. I'm not convinced it works for Jared Goff yet. And Arizona may be the right team to get back. Boy, they looked awful. I mean, they had a really rough go of it. But it's not like we haven't seen Arizona hang tough against some quality foes. It's not like we haven't seen that every game's been as bad as yesterday. Number to me is a little bit higher than I would expect. That being said, 13.5. I think it's going to 14. I considered a an emergency betting alert here. I'm not convinced it gets there. So, but I wouldn't be shocked at all to see the Rams laying 2 touchdowns in what's supposed to be a bounce back spot. But guess what? Yesterday's game was supposed to be a bounce back spot, and now Goff 0 TDs and 6 picks the last 2 weeks. That's not a good track record for a team laying 2 touchdowns on the highway. But like I said, this guy could easily go to 14, 47.5. This total. Arizona's not scoring, so I don't see that total going up anytime soon.
Teddy, we got the 1 p.m. Pacific kicks. Chicago at San Francisco, seeing 3.5 or 4, depending where you're shopping. That's the Bears laying on the road. 43 the total, Teddy.
So my initial reaction, okay, when you watch the Bears beat the Packers yesterday, all right, if you watch the Bears beat the Packers, and you look at the locker room scenes and Trubisky wearing his Bears jersey with the lights in it, and
the ugly sweater.
Bears Christmas sweater, yeah. That was if you want to define fat and happy, that is a definition of fat and happy for Chicago. They just clinched their division. They're not going to go on and earn one of the top 2 seeds. It's a team that, I mean, there's a chance they can earn one of the top 2 seeds, but it's a team that from last place last year to winning the division this year, that was a very satisfying victory. Going on the road to facing San Fran, it's as bet against the spot as you're going to find. And the markets did that right off the bat. The look headline here was 6. My powering number was 4. And the market, boom, boom, boom. As soon as this line opened, 5, 4.5, 4, 3.5. And then I was all, oh man, this is a clear emergency. I don't usually on Sunday night have this got to grab the 3.5 before it goes to 3. And then you start looking at the 49ers quotes when they beat Seattle yesterday. And it's the same story. Man, they were so happy to beat that team, and fought in overtime. And, the Seahawks had beaten them, I think, 7 straight times or 9 straight, whatever it was, and snapping that winning streak in a happy locker room and a 49ers team that doesn't want to necessarily win games because it's hurting them playoff spots. And I'm like, it's an emergency betting alert, Bears. No, it isn't. And the 3.5, so I'm like, 3.5. The markets are moving back to 4 right now because the spot's every bit as bad as San Fran is for Chicago. So I really thought this was going to be a great bet. And here are the 49ers. They're playing better football. They're fighting. And then you read those post-game quotes from San Fran. You're like, nope. Easy come, easy go. It was a nice idea betting against the Bears. Maybe I still get against the Bears, but, let's put it, I want no part of Chicago this week. But at the same time, the 49ers may not be quite as much of a bet on as I hope they would be.
Guys, we've got a couple games left here, and college football, NFL, regular season, playoffs, the rest of the full season, all the way through the national championship or Super Bowl, including the props package from Teddy Covers, FB $199 at checkout for the rest of the college football NFL season, and you will get it all for under $200. That's a $300 discount. Biggest discount I think we've given out on the podcast, so check that out at sportsmemo.com. We got the coupon code FB $199 at checkout for the rest of his college football and NFL season. Teddy, we got Pittsburgh, New Orleans. New Orleans playing tonight, so limited marketplace, but mostly seeing 6.5s. That's the Saints laying at home.
Yeah, and my powering number is 7. The look headline was 7. My powering number is 6, so 6.5 right in between the two. No surprise there. A lot of times on Monday, I'll be like, all right, if you want to bet the Saints this week, bet them again next week. Bet the Monday night team that you like, and then bet them the following. Bet them in for the next week's game because you're going to get the best of the number. I'm not convinced that New Orleans goes off as 7-point chalk against Pittsburgh, even if they look good tonight. So this isn't one of those spots. There will be market support for the Steelers, and of course the Saints stink tonight. It'll be their let's return home, and they're fighting for first round bye and all of that. So it's not a spot where tonight's result is likely to have a significant impact on next week's line. 6.5, probably going to be the prevailing number.
Teddy, we got Kansas City, Seattle in the Sunday nighter. Looks like Kansas City 2.5 on the road, 53.5 the total.
Yeah, I was surprised a little bit at this number. The look-ahead line here was Seattle -1. My powering number is KC -1, and KC -0.5 actually, which I up to -1 because C teams -0.5. So to see this at 2.5 is a little bit higher than I thought it was going to be, especially we consider what Seattle. Did you see the run that Chris Carson made yesterday to put this to tie the game?
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw it.
Crazy.
That was the single best run I may have ever seen from the 1 yard line. Where he is stopped in the backfield twice on 4th down and refused to go down, and every bit of effort. I mean, that was incredible. That's the best 1 yard run you'll ever see. Where he's, to get a touchdown on 4th down. That's the Seahawks mentality, man. That team fights and fights hard. And no, they didn't play well. There was the penalties yesterday, and penalties have been a problem for Seattle. They were, ranked number 1 in the NFL in penalty yards last year, and would they have 14 of them yesterday against San Fran? It was all penalties doing them in. But at the other hand, it's circle the wagon times for a pretty good home team at home. I don't see this line going in Kansas City's favor. I would anticipate, again, look ahead with Seattle -1. I don't see this going to 3. I'll put it that way. It's 2.5 or down. If it was going to 3, it'd be there already, and it's not. So if you like the Seahawks, not going to hurt you to get involved sooner rather than later.
Teddy, last game up, Monday nighter for next week, 131, 132, Denver, Oakland, 2.5, Broncos laying on the highway, 44.5 the total.
Yeah, look ahead line here was Denver -2.5. My powering number is Denver -2, and you can pick your poison with this matchup. The Broncos finding ways to lose after finding ways to win for a couple of weeks. And the Raiders are who they are, any game that Oakland wins hurts them. When you're talking about tanking and, getting the number 1 overall pick. Not that Gruden cares about that, but from an organizational standpoint, sometimes those things matter. So, anyhow, look ahead was 2.5. My powering number is 2. The market's at 2.5 right now, and I don't see any current signs that this is going to be a particularly. There's no signs right now the market's doing anything. This line is open and has been sitting there pretty much ever since.
Teddy, you think you look at tanking in the NFL at the same level as maybe handicapping tanking in the NBA?
No, not even close.
Okay, but at this point, it's definitely in your handicap.
When you start talking about week 16, week 17, and the number 1 pick's right there for you, yeah.
Interesting. Okay,
yeah.
Good
yeah. You have to be aware of it. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, no, it's a good tidbit to take forward in the NFL, because I'm not so sure in the recent past that it was this big, but you're hearing more about it. I'd say the last couple of years. Have you noticed that?
Yes, of course, because it's been it's been a successful strategy in the NBA in some regards. So other leagues are adapting it.
Makes sense, Teddy. Well, anything else you want to throw out before we shut this opening line report podcast down?
What I want to throw out?
Yeah.
I want to throw out let's throw some holiday greetings. Oh, God, I don't know what the hell you want me to throw out there.
All right. What? Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah? What are you trying to celebrate?
Whatever. Knock yourselves out. I'm a curmudgeon if there ever was one. Worth noting, and I want to talk to you about this. Next Monday is Christmas Eve. Week 17, the lines bounce around. Are we going to do them on OLR on Christmas Eve?
I don't know. What are we doing, Teddy?
Tell me, man. I'm game.
All right, I'm game.
But it's a matter of you. I don't care about Christmas. I'm a Christmas Eve, and plus it's in the morning. It's like Christmas Eve early. But I want to make sure that you're up for it before I lock you in on it. Now that we're doing it, now that I'm saying this live on our podcast.
Exactly. No, but I'm definitely down. It's an important podcast. So let's get it out for the people, for the clients, for the listeners, for sure. So it might be earlier on Christmas, which I guess Christmas Eve, which won't be a bad thing. So let's plan on it next Monday if that works for you, Teddy.
That's awesome. I look forward to it. Drew, best of luck, guys. Hope we gave you some valuable information on today's podcast. And please, you get a chance, stop by sportsmemo.com, see what we have going on. Tons of free stuff, and of course picks for those who are interested at sportsmemo.com.
Well said, Teddy. All right, guys, we'll be back tomorrow with some college basketball NHL podcasts. Best of luck with your bets.